At 31, I'm trapped in a life of unending agony. I've wasted my entire life, I lament, haunted by pain and my past failures. After 13 years of treatments and solitude, I seek a final escape. I want life, liberty, and happiness, yet I face only suffering. What happens next? The following are excerpts from my voluntary assisted death application, which has been approved. Just a heads up, there is some redundancy. The pain began at the age of 14, but became inescapable when I was 16 or 17, and I am now 31. Since then, every aspect of my life physically, mentally, emotionally, and financially has deteriorated. I have spent 13 years in what feels like double solitary confinement, trapped by both physical pain and obsessive-compulsive disorder. Despite countless treatments, nothing has provided even a moment of relief. I once held hope that treatment might restore me, but that hope has faded with every failed attempt. I am finished with hoping and coping. They have not brought peace or change. I desire life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, or I want nothing at all. The pain, coupled with intrusive thoughts, leaves me unable to live independently or find any sense of peace. The emotional toll has become unbearable, and my identity has been lost to the constant suffering. I cannot achieve anything I want out of life, and a future worth living is impossible. This pain has rendered me existentially fragile. I can no longer find meaning in life or imagine a future free of suffering. My existence feels like a Michelin 3-star meal doused with salt. I cannot find a single spoonful that does not burn my mouth. My decision to die is not impulsive, but the result of years of reflection on the irreversible nature of my pain. The failure of treatments feels like a betrayal by my body and the world around me. I seek death to end my suffering, as there is no path forward, no possibility for peace, and no hope for the future. I am unable to pursue the achievement of a single thing of value, except death. I grew up with a mix of curiosity, fear, and a love for being active. As a child, I was plagued by horrific fears and obsessive-compulsive disorder. I was afraid of buses, other people, and even school. From a young age, I experienced violent physical uncontrollability due to intrusive thoughts. Despite these challenges, I found moments of joy in being active. High school was mostly positive, though I wasted time distracting myself rather than confronting my struggles. At the age of 14, I noticed extreme back pain, possibly due to sports, sitting too much, and carrying a heavy backpack. Though it began then, it did not stop my love for physical activities until I was 18. At that point, the pain became unbearable, marking the beginning of a long decline. College was the beginning of the end. I stopped doing parkour, which I loved, and moved into an apartment that became my first prison. Pain, isolation, and fear consumed me. I have felt dead since I was 18. I have never had positive experiences with women, let alone sexual ones, and college deepened my sense of loss and disconnection. On top of everything, I have had acne since my teenage years, and it has spread across my body. This condition has compounded my feelings of isolation, self-hatred, and worthlessness. Looking back, I realize I have wasted my entire life. When I denied life, life denied me, and I cannot buy back a life deferred. I have lived with my parents for far too long, and it has been detrimental to my mental health. My extreme pain and obsessive-compulsive disorder prevent me from achieving independence, making it impossible for me to live on my own. The environment has become extremely unhealthy for me. I have never been married, and I have not touched a woman or actually anyone in 14 years outside of medical professionals. The last time I heard a young female's voice was over voice chat in a game. The second I heard it, I froze, sank into a depression coma, then lay in bed in the fetal position for about 3 hours before recovering. Despite the support my family has provided me financially, helping with treatments, and keeping me alive, no one has been there for me in a way that addresses my emotional suffering. Not a single person in my family can offer even 1% of what I need to truly live. Instead, my existence feels prolonged for no reason, and keeping me alive only extends my sorrow. This has to end. Life could have been amazing for me, but the back and nerve pain ruined what was going to be a beautiful life. I am dying 13 years too late, but that is better than 14 years too late. Schooling was a dark cloud over my life until high school, where things briefly improved. However, college was the beginning of the end. I initially attended college for sports medicine, but I had to drop out because of my obsessive-compulsive disorder. I then pursued a Bachelor of Science in game design through online schooling, and I never once stepped foot on campus, which was less than 2 hours away from me. Not only that, but I pursued game design because of my love for games, but in the end it became a mistake. Falling in love with synthetic worlds ultimately led me to neglect and destroy myself in the real world. I regret every single second I spent attending to false worlds, as they have left me feeling empty and disconnected. Video games, once a source of joy, are now a source of anger, disgust, and even allergy. My love for video games ruined my entire life and robbed me of any capability of achieving anything of value. Although I truly loved making games, that passion quickly became impossible because of my obsessive-compulsive disorder. I could not focus on writing code or designing anything because I was too busy performing obsessive rituals on my computer for years, unable to break free from them. I never realized what I was losing because my identity was mostly fake and digital shaped by the characters I was playing, not by myself. Furthermore, I was alone the entire time in college, and after I graduated, I never once had a single job again. I had a general foreman labor type job during high school and early college, and that job contributed to my back and nerve problems. I also had a sales job while in college, but that was never a career. Since graduating, I have not had a job. My degree in game design has never once been utilized, and I have lived on less money per year than I received in high school graduation checks from my family. Now, at 31, I find myself without any meaningful employment, unable to build a career or move forward in any professional capacity. I once had a love for physical activities, particularly parkour, which gave me a sense of freedom and purpose. However, the pain from my back and nerve issues eventually ended my ability to engage in this passion. Games, which I once loved, have now become a source of anger and frustration, robbing me of the joy they once brought. I have not been able to find meaningful hobbies or activities that allow me to feel connected to life. Self-care was once a hobby I enjoyed, but now it feels like I am simply taking care of a corpse. I can barely manage basic tasks like clipping my fingernails, let alone engage in activities that once provided me with a sense of well-being. Every hobby or recreational activity that did not involve using my body became a distraction from pain, and I regret ever spending a single second on them. Since I was around 17, I have not been able to focus on anything without the pain stabbing me. Over the last 4 years, I made my health my full-time job. I learned a lot about the spine in my efforts to heal, but I wish I had never known a single fact about it. The pain and dysfunction only forced me to learn because I had no choice. Despite all my efforts, I failed to heal, and it is a constant reminder that nothing I have done has been enough. I see no future of hobbies, recreation, or volunteer work. The likelihood of me ever finding one again is near zero. Despite attempts to push through the pain, the constant physical and mental struggles have left me unable to pursue any form of meaningful activity. I have been isolated from the things I once enjoyed and am now trapped in a cycle of pain and dysfunction. Before the age of 18, I was incredibly athletic, enjoying physical freedom and strength. However, once my nerve and back issues began, I fell from that high place. My body, once full of potential, was suddenly burdened with pain and limitations. Since then, I have never recovered, and I never will. The vitality I once had has been stolen from me, along with my mental and emotional well-being. The joy of movement, physical strength, and the future I imagined all disappeared. My body and mind have been irrevocably altered, and the person I once was is gone. This loss of my future and the unbearable pain that comes with it is completely unacceptable, and it will remain so until the day I die. Since the onset of my pain at 18, I have lived with the limitations of someone far older, as though I have aged prematurely. Basic movements like sitting, standing, and walking for extended periods are excruciating, and activities like bending or lifting are nearly impossible. Exercise, once vital for my physical and mental health, is out of reach. Daily life is dominated by unrelenting pain, worsened by inactivity but slightly relieved by movement. Sleep is disrupted as I constantly adjust my position to manage the discomfort. These limitations have robbed me of independence, leaving me trapped in a body that feels decades older. If I already feel like this at 31, by the time I am 77, I will feel like 200, my body and mind deteriorating more each year. As I sit and write this, a nuclear explosion of pain radiates from my lower back. Just typing sends shockwaves of pain up my back and down my right leg. My prognosis, as provided by a neurologist, is lifelong pain, necessitating the use of pain management. However, as the following will demonstrate, none of the available pain management options provide any relief whatsoever. Over the years, I have pursued an exhaustive range of treatments in an effort to alleviate my condition, but nothing has provided meaningful relief. I have tried many years of guided and unguided physical therapy, which consistently made my symptoms worse. I have consulted at least 3 different chiropractors with no improvement, and I attempted cognitive behavioral therapy without any effect. Pharmacological treatments included gabapentin, which caused severe suicidal ideation, pregabalin, which exacerbated my obsessive-compulsive disorder, celecoxib, which offered no relief, hydrocodone and oxycodone, which provided insufficient pain control, cyclobenzaprine, which had no effect, diazepam, which was similarly ineffective, and many non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, none of which have worked. I also supplemented with approximately 13 different micronutrients over several months, each with no improvement. Other interventions included a lumbar epidural steroid injection, a lumbar artificial disc replacement surgery, and an L5S1 bilateral laminotomy. The latter not only failed to alleviate my pain but introduced severe post-laminectomy nerve pain. I have also tried acupuncture, which amplified my intrusive thoughts and caused nightmares, and massage and cranial sacral therapy, both of which yielded no effect. Additionally, I attempted a TENS machine with negligible benefit and CBD, THC, CBN gummies which worsened my symptoms and caused brain fog. I own an inversion table that has only ever helped me out of acute crises but has never addressed my chronic pain. I have experimented with a lumbar brace but it was ineffective. In terms of exercise, I practiced the McGill Big Three famous back strengthening exercises and followed along with the Back Mechanic by Stuart McGill, both without success. I read psychosomatic-focused books such as The Mind-Body Connection and The Way Out but found no improvement. To accommodate my pain, I have reconfigured my living space to be as ergonomically friendly as possible. But these adjustments provide little relief and are nowhere near enough to alleviate my suffering. I have not found a single pain management option that is worth its side effects. Additionally, I have been offered a spinal cord stimulator, but find the prospect of living with such a device intolerable and therefore will not pursue it. The worst part right now is that because I am going to die a pathetic, crippled, wasted virgin, I suffer an unending stream of pornographic thoughts. Literally, an unending flood of infuriating high-resolution scenes. Every scene sends jolts through my brain. I have been trying desperately to find a modicum of peace before I die, but my mental health has worsened instead. If I dare daydream for a single second, the obsessive-compulsive disorder rips the positive attempt away and replaces it instantly with one of my worst fears. I am excited to die, but every day feels like 7. Is there anything I can do to find some peace before I die? This is no time for caution. My brain will absolutely never, for a single waking second, stop antagonizing me and instigating me with humiliating pornographic thoughts. I understand I am a pathetic virgin, but it is too late. We are dying in less than 2 months, just stop torturing me. As I see it, the reproductive system wants my genetic seed to escape before I die, so its full force every single second is raging at me to fix this problem. I severely doubt I will comply. As I said, I have acne all over my body and hate myself completely. I avoid reflections and have not looked in the mirror in months, thus I am far too self-hating to have sex. Additionally, the pain and torture have made me completely believe that life is evil, and I have a hard time partaking in the act of reproducing that which I hate with that which is trying to seduce me to replicate myself. If I do anything at all, I must never reproduce myself. Of course, this goes for all humans, but I can only prevent my own replication. I would not be able to save my child from what I have, as I was unable to save myself. Story 2. Caught between two worlds, I pleaded, I'm ready for a serious commitment, to John, who'd once said, you're not my dream woman. Meanwhile, Hector promised, I'll take care of you no matter what. Now I wonder, can my heart really choose a path without regret? Hello everyone, I am losing sleep over this situation. It is a long story and I am quickly typing this, so I apologize for any grammatical errors. Please, I need help. In 2023, I met this resident physician through a dating application. Let's refer to him as John. When I first encountered him, I believed I had found my future husband. He was incredibly charming, highly intelligent, and very cultured. The idea of bringing a physician into my family was thrilling, and I felt it would make my parents proud as they place a high value on academic success. When I met him, he was in the process of applying for an emergency medicine fellowship. During the time I got to know him, he was extremely busy and navigating residency. He was working long hours, often traveling to other cities for work, which made it difficult for us to see each other in person. Despite this, we communicated frequently. He would give me every minute he could spare while managing the conditions of lack of sleep, poor nutrition, and the overall mental and physical demands of residency. Despite our closeness, and due to the energy, time, and mental clarity he lacked because of residency, John was unable to engage in a committed relationship with me, although I desperately wanted one. Every time I inquired about his thoughts on updates regarding our relationship, he would say there were aspects of our dynamic he still needed to explore before he could fully commit. For instance, he often expressed that there was a gap in maturity and experience because of our age difference. We are 4 years apart. He felt unable to be emotionally vulnerable with me, unsure if this was exclusive to me or if it was a general issue. He is a remarkably intelligent person and has mentioned that he has not felt mentally stimulated in conversation, which he desires in a partner. He also noted that he would admire having a partner who is also a high earner. I work a job that pays $70,000 as a new graduate. The qualities he described for his ideal partner often painted a picture that did not include me. John frequently referred to me as not his dream woman, nor as someone he envisioned sharing his future with, so he felt the need to learn more about me. This necessitated crossing many personal boundaries for me. For example, he wanted to explore intimacy, as he viewed it as an act of emotional vulnerability that brings us closer, particularly intimacy without protection. Intimacy is sacred to me, and I felt uncomfortable exploring it so openly, as I wish to reserve such experiences for my future husband. Despite this, I engaged and pushed myself to break these boundaries because I loved him and wanted to allow him the opportunity to fully explore his needs, with the hope that he would ultimately commit to me. We maintained an uncommitted but impliedly exclusive relationship, despite my pleading for exclusivity for nearly 2 years. During this period, I deceived my friends by telling them we had stopped seeing each other, as they disapproved of my being in a non-committed relationship for an extended period and were concerned for my well-being. However, I continued seeing John in secret because I loved him. Toward the end of those 2 years, I began to feel burnt out from yearning for someone who did not appear to reciprocate my feelings, and I gradually started to distance myself from him. In the latter half of this time, I spent more time with my close-knit group of friends, one of whom is named Hector. Hector was introduced to my high school friend group through my friend Emily. Hector and Emily dated for 5 years until a few months ago when Hector unexpectedly ended the relationship with Emily. Over the last year, we learned that Emily was undergoing a significant mental health crisis, which led to her being hospitalized periodically. We discovered that throughout their 5-year relationship, Emily had been mentally and physically abusive toward Hector. He recounted instances where she would hit him one time while driving. Emily hit his face during a mental health breakdown, prompting bystanders to call the police. Additionally, Emily's mother is mentally unwell, and her family faced severe financial difficulties, relying on Hector for support. Hector, who was just a young undergraduate student at the time, and his family spent over 50,000 Canadian dollars to assist Emily. This included paying off credit card debt bills and even buying Emily multiple laptops and iPhones that she broke during her mental health episodes. Hector felt like Emily's caregiver. During Emily's mental health crisis, she distanced herself from our friend group, as her mentally unstable mother did not allow her to go outside due to pain. After the breakup, Hector, having distanced himself during the turmoil with Emily, reintegrated into our friend group, which was welcomed and even brought us closer together. Many of us reached out to Emily to spend time with her because we felt sympathy for her, but our efforts were not reciprocated, as Emily stated that she perceived our attempts to reconnect as fake. Personally, while Emily belonged to the same friend group as me, I was never her biggest supporter. I felt that we often clashed and found her difficult to communicate with. However, we remained friends on a superficial level due to our mutual friends and our presence in the same social circle. A few months ago, Hector acquired a new condominium and frequently invited us over. This was a wonderful experience, as he was the first in our friend group to have his own place, providing a small area of privacy for us to enjoy. We engaged in various activities, hosted parties, ate, drank, and created many memories together. During this time, Hector and I began to speak more and grew closer. Throughout our 5 years of knowing each other, we had never conversed outside of necessity, so it felt like I was discovering a new friend. We instantly clicked and bonded over shared interests, similar values, and our upbringings. Hector felt like the male counterpart to myself. During the 5 years Hector was in a relationship with Emily, I often admired how he treated her and appreciated the things he did for her. I frequently wished that my boyfriend at the time would do similar things, like bringing flowers, planning dates, and giving compliments. Suddenly, I found Hector doing those nice things for me. For instance, he would prepare coffee for me at 3 a.m. without my asking, simply because I mentioned it. We worked out together, dined out, and communicated daily. One evening, we both expressed interest in going to a nightclub, something I had always wanted to do more frequently, but none of my friends could join. And in a drunken moment, Hector confessed that he had feelings for me. I immediately rejected this, as he had previously dated Emily from my high school friend group for 5 years. And I thought that dating a friend's ex would be a significant betrayal, especially given that Emily was already experiencing a mental health crisis. I contemplated distancing myself from Hector after this, but despite my strong desire to do so, I found it difficult. I missed him and always wanted to talk to him. Throughout this period, I was still secretly seeing John and asked him for a break, but specifically one where we could talk to other people if opportunities arose, as I wanted to explore the situation with Hector. During this time, I went on dates with Hector. He took me to places I had always wanted to visit. He brought me flowers and genuinely cared for me. He planned an entire Valentine's Day date under the stars, something that had never been done for me before. Doing things for me seemed effortless for Hector. He expressed that he believed I was the one for him. He was ready to commit to me and saw me as his dream woman. However, he understood that I felt guilty about this relationship considering it was behind Emily's back, and he was aware of my feelings for John, so he advised me to take my time without pressuring me for immediate decisions. Gradually, I felt my feelings for Hector start to grow. Meanwhile, John called me 2 weeks into the break. He expressed that the brief time apart made him realize he loved me. He admitted that previously he had been acting based on logic. However, with his residency block somewhat calmer now, he finally had the time and mental clarity to sort through his feelings and recognize that he was in love with me. I informed him about Hector, and his reaction was very negative. He was appalled that I could consider pursuing something with not only a close friend, but also the ex of someone from our friend group. John explained that he called me because he wanted to surprise me with flowers and ask me to be his girlfriend, but due to my situation with Hector, he was experiencing trust issues. John also has PTSD regarding a previous incident where another man was involved, as he was cheated on by his ex. Despite this, John still wanted to give me a chance and asked me to work through my feelings for Hector. He mentioned wanting to go on trips with me and that he envisioned me as his girlfriend, wife, and mother of his children. He expressed a desire to commit to me and build a future together. He told me he loved me. These were all things I once longed to hear, but when John articulated them, I felt overwhelmed. I shared with Hector that John had returned to the picture in this way. This news frightened Hector as he feared losing me but did not pressure me into making a choice. Hector expressed that he would wait for me and encouraged me to make a decision that was best for me, urging me to not worry about potentially hurting him. He told me to follow my heart. I have been mentally torn apart by this situation. At one point, I told Hector I would simply walk away, despite my feelings for him, as I hated the idea of keeping him in this predicament. Nonetheless, Hector persistently supported me, proclaiming that I was the love of his life and that he did not want to lose me. He reiterated multiple times that he would take care of me, no matter the circumstances. On the other hand, John tends to be more emotionally volatile. He has often claimed that he would not think twice about me if our relationship were to end, and he would neither talk to nor wish to know what was happening in my life out of respect for his future partner. He is 4 years older than I am, and he may get married within the next year. John has also indicated that he is only a few months away from completing his residency, and once he finishes, he will have more time to be a loving and devoted partner. He stated that I have been patient with him throughout the duration of his residency, suggesting that if he does not end up with me, the next girl will benefit from the emotional growth he has experienced. However, John has recently been unusually affectionate. He brought me roses the other day and frequently discusses relationships and marriage. To me, this shift feels sudden, as there was no gradual transition into this behavior. He suddenly returned as a changed individual, presenting himself more like a boyfriend. He claims to be ready to commit and is waiting for me to make a clear decision about being in a relationship with him, yet he still harbors trust issues concerning Hector. He indicated that to fully trust me, it may require me not to see Hector, not even in group settings. I am torn because, as superficial as it may seem, status and prestige mean a great deal to me. Choosing John would essentially ensure financial stability, as he is likely to earn between 300,000 and 500,000 Canadian dollars within the next year. John also asserts that with a bit more time, which he claims he will have after residency, he can be a caring and loving partner who will do things for me. The prospect of bringing a doctor from a similar culture into my household is something that would impress my parents, family, and friends. However, I realize that being a busy physician means he will not always be available. I continue to admire his intelligence and eagerly anticipate our intellectually stimulating conversations. I feel I can often seek his advice and gain alternative perspectives. However, I find his highly logical personality and occasional emotional detachment challenging to navigate, often feeling as though I have to argue with him to convey my feelings. Conversely, Hector accepts me as I am. I do not have to compromise my principles for him. He readily organizes outings and understands me intuitively, requiring little verbal expression on my part. He constantly wants to support me and is willing to go to great lengths for my happiness. Hector is very trusting of me despite my complicated situation with John and is prepared to pursue a relationship as soon as I express my readiness. He comes from a loving and financially secure family. His mother would love me unconditionally. His father is a senior scientist at a university earning a good income, while Hector is currently pursuing his master's degree and plans to obtain a PhD in artificial intelligence. He asserts that he will eventually secure a well-paying job, potentially around the 200,000 mark. My parents are aware of him, as he was part of my friend group, and I know they would like him. I am simply apprehensive about pursuing a relationship with Hector because he is the ex of a long-standing friend, Emily, who is no longer deeply integrated into our group. Hector and Emily had a 5-year relationship and were well known in our community. Thus, I fear potential drama and rumors labeling me as a homewrecker from those who are unaware of the full history. Additionally, if Hector and I were to break up for any reason, it could place our friends in a position where they would have to choose between us, jeopardizing my closest friendships. While Hector is becoming more conversational, he does not possess the same capacity for intellectually stimulating conversations that John does. Nonetheless, acting and caring for others comes very naturally to Hector. I am conflicted because I have feelings for two people. I am deeply frightened of regret. I fear that if I choose Hector, I will wonder whether John is treating his next partner well, providing her with a prestigious and lavish lifestyle due to his income, even though I supported John's emotional growth. However, I do not know how much trust John needs to feel secure enough to fully commit. If I choose John, I will think about how affectionate Hector would also be toward his next partner. Hector would likely introduce his new girlfriend into our friend group, and that is something I would have to navigate. Please provide any insight and guidance you have, now that you are aware of this complex situation. If you were in my position, who would you choose? Story 3. My husband isn't just helping with chores, it's his home too, and that turns me on. He admitted he loves my confidence, especially in sweats, and finds my big appetite sexy. Cuddling is even better than sex. We agree. How do we keep that spark alive with two toddlers? On the internet, I often encounter marriage advice aimed at men that typically states the following. If you assist your wife with childcare and household chores, she might reciprocate. I once saw a meme that said, no one cleans faster than a man trying to get laid. I notice subliminal messages like that in sitcoms. Men often perform favors for their wives, frequently articulated this way, in the hopes that their wives will be sexually receptive. Men will gather in groups and say something like, do exactly as she requests or she will not sleep with you. First, my husband is not helping me with chores and childcare. This is as much his home as it is mine, and these children are equally his as they are mine. Second, perhaps more significant, the correlation between having an egalitarian partnership and experiencing a satisfying sex life is technically accurate but frequently misunderstood. Statistics indicate that couples who share domestic responsibilities tend to have more fulfilling sexual experiences. This does not mean that a woman observes her husband loading the dishwasher and then decides to engage sexually as a reward for him behaving like a responsible adult. What is truly happening is that a messy house can significantly diminish libido. Therefore, if a man cleans up after himself, that eliminates one potential turnoff. Additionally, nurturing is traditionally viewed as a feminine trait. Consequently, if a man steps up to take on that role, it can be quite appealing as it signifies that we do not have to bear that responsibility alone. Consider it this way. In my experience, many, if not most, heterosexual men are attracted to tomboys. I identify strongly as a tomboy. My husband admitted that this is part of the reason, though certainly not the sole reason, for his attraction to me. Gentlemen, reflect on how aroused you feel when a woman, especially one you are already attracted to, tells a risque joke, laughs at one of your jokes, wears casual attire such as jeans or sweatpants and a t-shirt, or has a hearty appetite, particularly for foods like steak, cheeseburgers, hot dogs, fried chicken, lasagna, and pizza. Since it is typically men who engage in these activities, you are likely to feel excited when a woman displays the ability and willingness to participate in them. I dislike the outdated gender role that dictates men should be the primary financial providers. I particularly resent the notion that men should always pay during a date. When my husband and I were dating, I insisted on splitting the bill. To say that he appreciated that would be an understatement. Women who are employed, earn their own income, and provide for themselves tend to exude more confidence and assertiveness. My husband is fond of my confidence and assertiveness. I generally prefer wearing casual clothes over more feminine attire. Since becoming a mother, I now have a legitimate excuse to wear sweatpants frequently. This is beneficial for my husband because I am more likely to cuddle while dressed comfortably. I am not fond of wearing makeup. I'm married, so I would never have to wear it again. If we attend a formal event, I would not mind donning a dress. If the dress I wore the last time I attended such an event still fits, I will wear it. If I have gained or lost weight and that dress no longer fits, I will go shopping. I couldn't care less whether the dress matches my shoes. My primary concern is that the dress is affordable and fits well. If the first dress I try on fits, I will only forego purchasing it if I find a cheaper alternative. Occasionally, I buy the first dress I try on without checking for less expensive options, simply to leave the store as quickly as possible. My husband appreciates this as I am efficient in getting ready. I have a significant appetite and would not hesitate to order something indulgent like pizza. This is excellent news for my husband. When we order out, I will not pretend to be not hungry only to consume half of his fries. Instead, I will order a substantial portion of fries for myself and encourage my husband to do the same. If I eat so much that my stomach becomes distended, my husband finds it appealing as it reminds him of my appearance during pregnancy. My husband possesses a great sense of humor, and many of his favorite jokes are risque. Since we have children, we must be cautious about our language around them. However, when the kids are asleep, my husband and I engage in intimate conversations that are hard to believe. Single ladies, if you are seeking to meet a man, consider pursuing a traditionally masculine hobby. My husband and I share hobbies at home such as video games. We have an Xbox in the bedroom. Archery, we have a bow and arrows and targets in the garage. Cornhole, we also have cornhole bags and boards in the garage. And darts, we have a dartboard in the basement. We become competitive while playing these games. When our children are older, we will allow them to enjoy these hobbies as well. Men appreciate a woman who is ambitious and competitive, as it motivates them to become the best version of themselves. Women experience a similar attraction when a man is good with children, looks after us when we are unwell, becomes vulnerable and expresses his feelings, and serves as our shoulder to cry on during times of sadness or stress. I happen to find cuddling after sex even more rewarding than the sex itself, which is truly saying something considering how fantastic the sex is. When my husband admits he feels the same way, I find that absolutely charming. With two children both under 6 years of age, our time and energy for sexual intimacy is limited. However, it is not challenging to find time for cuddling. I frequently sit on his lap. My husband is a genuinely sweet and sensitive individual. Sometimes I become overly emotional. Rather than pointing out my irrational behavior, he patiently listens to me while I express my feelings, often asking questions about what I am experiencing and how I feel. Frequently, I come to the realization on my own that I am overreacting. When my husband is stressed, I always return the favor. I give him a big hug with my arms above his shoulders so my chest presses against him. He lifts me up so I can straddle him. I used to have to remind him to lift me. Now he automatically does it without needing to be asked. The purpose of our discussions is not to solve the problem. If we could accomplish that, we would simply do it. Instead, we discuss our feelings because we have decided that the situation is frustrating and there is little we can do about it, so we sit down, vent, and enjoy some cuddling in the process. When I am vulnerable and my husband takes care of me, it usually ignites my passion. During my pregnancy, my husband washed my clothes, trimmed my toenails, and put my shoes on for me because I could not bend over. He even shaved my legs, which required him to join me in the shower. I loved being naked in the shower with my husband. There is a recommendation against scratching your belly during pregnancy, so my husband would apply lotion to my stomach. None of my shirts covered my enlarged belly, so I would borrow shirts from my husband. If we needed to go somewhere that required attire other than sweatpants, I would wear a pair of my husband's jeans. My feet were severely swollen, and my husband would massage them and lend me his shoes.